Madam President, we are now engaged in a debate over the last couple of weeks over whether or not we should begin to expand a massive exportation of American natural gas, our own natural gas, to put it out onto the world market as a way of helping Ukraine deal with Russia. This whole notion is constantly being invoked like an incantation, a talisman, that somehow or other this is some kind of a magic bullet that will help to solve the problems in the Ukraine. But in fact, it really is nothing more than just another aggregation, encyclopedically, of discredited notions, nostrums, that have no relationship to the reality of the global energy marketplace. These are actual arguments being made, false premises that do not, in fact, have any likelihood of having any substantial impact on the totality of the Ukrainian situation. Let me just give you a few facts as a way of dealing with where we are right now. We have approved, the United States has already approved 5 export terminals that could send 4 trillion cubic feet of natural gas abroad. Now, how much natural gas is that? Well, let me just tell you. It is more than twice what the Ukraine uses in a year. The United States is already committed to doing that. More than a quarter of all of the gas in Europe imports in a year would be ascribable to the amount of natural gas the United States has already approved. It would be nearly as much as every single U.S. home uses yearly. That's how much natural gas is part of the already approved export terminals in this country. The Department of Energy found that exporting 4.4 trillion cubic feet, a level we will reach within the next approved export terminal, could raise the prices of domestic natural gas up to 54%. That could mean that American consumers would pay $2.50 more per 1,000 cubic feet. That translates into, listen to this number, ladies and gentlemen, $62 billion energy tax every year on American consumers and businesses. What do I mean by energy tax? I mean that but for that exportation, consumers' bills, corporations' bills would be $62 billion lower per year over the next 10 years. Can you imagine a debate out here in the United States Senate over increasing $62 billion worth of taxes on Americans in 1 year? We would come to a standstill if we had that kind of debate. But because it's part of energy policy, people just assume that it's something that's outside of the purview of what should be a great national debate, which we are having. Let me just tell you right now, low-cost domestic natural gas has allowed the United States to add, let me say this, 530,000 manufacturing jobs since 2010, according to Dow Chemical. If low prices continue, we could add 5 million more jobs in the manufacturing sector by 2020. Who says this? America's Energy Advantage. Who's in that organization? Dow, Alcoa, Nucor, other major corporations. What do they relate the manufacturing revival in our country to? Low-priced energy that gives them a reason to return the manufacturing jobs from overseas. Except for the cost of labor, what's the single largest component in a manufacturing job? The cost of energy. The lower it is, the more likely the manufacturing company will have the jobs here in America. If you increase the price by 54% or more, which is what many people here are now proposing, you reduce the incentive for a manufacturer to create those new jobs here in the United States. And let me give you another little fact. Every dollar invested in domestic manufacturing creates $8 in finished products. Manufacturing is at the heart of who we are as a country. This is something that right now is a discussion we should have in this country. The relationship between low-cost energy and the new manufacturing jobs that we want to see. So we can generate that economic value here in America, but if we send our natural gas overseas, that same kind of manufacturing future can be constructed in China. Let's have that debate here in our country. Last month, U.S. chemical industry topped $100 billion in new investment as a result of low-cost U.S. natural gas. According to the American Chemistry Council, those 148 new factories, expanded projects could generate $81 billion per year in new chemical industry output and 637 new jobs in manufacturing here in the United States by the year 2023. Now let's go to some of the, in my opinion, some of the complete canards that are thrown out about where this natural gas will go if it's put out into the free market. Well, first of all, let's just say this. We're not Russia. We're not Venezuela. We are not communist. We're not a communist country here where the government controls where energy goes. No, we're a capitalist country. We're proud of it. The decision as to where natural gas is going to go is going to be made by the CEOs of oil and gas companies in our country. And they're going to send it to where they can get the highest dollar. And let me just say this right now. The highest dollar is in China. The highest dollar is in South America. The highest dollar is not in Ukraine. So anyone that thinks that just by setting up these export terminals and sending our natural gas that could be helping our manufacturing sector overseas is going to help the Ukraine geopolitical situation doesn't understand the geoeconomics of it, the geology of it, or the geopolitical implications of it. They have not thought through the totality of what happens when we take our precious resource and we start spreading it around the world. So some are just going to argue it helps Ukraine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to help China more than it helps Ukraine. It's going to help South America more than it helps Ukraine. And it's for sure going to help the CEOs of big oil and gas companies. That's what this debate is really going to be all about, because we don't captain those ships. ExxonMobil has a tiller for those ships, and those ships are going to steer towards where the highest price is on the world marketplace. When those LNG tankers set sail for Asia, for South America, we should know what else we're sending abroad on those ships. American jobs will be on those ships. They'll be sailing to other countries. Fighting climate change is on those ships because we'll burn more coal here in the United States rather than natural gas, which has half of the pollutants of coal. We'll be increasing the greenhouse gases that the United States of America is sending up into the atmosphere. When we are sending that natural gas overseas, we'll be increasing the cost of a conversion of our large bus fleet and our large truck fleet over to natural gas as the fuel, which makes it possible to drive them around our country. Here are the statistics. It's quite simple. If we just move 1/3 of our fleet off of oil and onto natural gas as a way of fueling large buses and large trucks, then we back out 1 million barrels of oil. 1 million barrels of oil per day. That's a signal we should be sending to the Middle East. That's a signal that we are serious, that we're tired of exporting young men and women overseas and getting nothing in return. So let me just summarize by saying this. One, it's a $62 billion consumer tax. Two, it slows our conversion oil over to, from coal over to oil in our utility industry, slows the conversion of vehicles over to natural gas, slows our manufacturing revolution, slows our economic recovery, so that our real strength is in our strong economy fueled by this low-cost oil and natural gas in our country. We need a huge national debate in our country about the impact on our economy before we start putting it out on the high seas, believing erroneously that it's going to have some huge impact on the Ukraine. I yield back the balance of my time.